Hello, in this video, I'm doing a book review of Backgammon Masterclass. This is the book. I have it. I have a copy here. This is can't really see it there, but it's on the screen. This new book that recently came out in 2023. It's an outstanding book. I've read it already. It's written by Marc Olsen, who's a Grandmaster, who's written multiple outstanding books like From Basics to Badass and Cube Like a Boss. They're really good books. And Supergrandmaster, Masayuki Mochizuki, also known as Mochy. He's the best player in the world, two-time world champion, top giant for many years. He's been inducted into the Hall of Fame. He's won the UBC title. He's also written multiple other books in Japanese, but this is the first one in English, and they collaborated with a friend of mine, Alec Barr, who's a native English speaker, to write the book. So this book was developed based on a series of lectures that Marc and Mochy did, I believe in Marbella, Spain, and they took that information and put it into a book. It has a lot of information. This is the website where you can order it. I'll put the link in the description. Please be sure to like and subscribe and put any comments below what you think. If you've read the book, what do you like about it, and so forth. So this book has 4 sections or 4 chapters. 2 of them are written by Marc and 2 of them are written by Mochy. The first one is called Strategic Visualization, Priming or Blitzing, and it's by Mochy. So it basically talks about a lot of early positions, mostly to determine whether the position is better suited for priming or blitzing. One of the key things I took away is the position tells you what to do. You don't tell the position what to do. So you have to look at the position, see what kind of structure it is, and depending on that, you have to make your play. There are a lot of examples in there, and I actually learned a lot, and it's a great topic because these types of positions occur in a lot of the games, almost all the games in the early phase. You have choices whether to go for a priming play or a blitzing or attacking play, and this will definitely improve your game no matter what, because you see it all the time. The second chapter is Game Plan Dynamics, and that's by Marc. So it discusses the differences between strategy and tactics and goes through the 4 major game plans. So there's a priming, blitzing, racing, and contact. So racing is the simplest one. You just roll large numbers and you try to win in the race. Blitzing, on the other hand, is where you attack your opponent and you try to get them on the bar and go for a gammon, whether it's a double gammon or an undoubled gammon. A priming game plan is where you try to make a prime in front of your opponent's checkers, keeping the opponent stuck behind that and preventing them from escaping. And you kind of go on to win. And then the 4th game plan is a defensive game plan or contact game plan. When you're behind in the race, you want to stay back and maintain contact. One of the things I learned is to try to find plays that give you multiple options in terms of different game plans. So sometimes you can make a play where there is one game plan available or a different game plan based on whatever rolls of the dice that you get. So those are good options. I really learned a lot from that, and there are a lot of examples in this book, in this chapter, that tell you when to decide on what kind of game plan to go through. The 3rd chapter is Backgammon Backgame Strategy by Mochy. This is personally my favorite book, my favorite chapter of the book. So backgames are very complex. Usually what happens is one person gets a lot of checkers hit back and they make 2 anchors in the opponent's home board, and that leads to a lot of conflict and contact. So that's an example of the contact value. this chapter inspired me to write a whole book about back games. This is an outstanding chapter. There's not a lot been written in the backgammon literature about back games. You have about 50 pages in Bill Roberti's book and about another 50 pages in Walter Trice's book. This is about 75 pages just on back games. However, that's just the tip of the iceberg. In my book, it's much more granular and in detail, but in this one, it goes through an overview about backgame strategies. It's definitely the best thing that's ever been written about backgames thus far. The strategies in a backgame are very counterintuitive. Oftentimes, they're the opposite of strategies in traditional forward games. For example, you don't want to get hit usually in a forward game because you lose ground in the race. However, in a back game, often getting hit is to your advantage. What else? So there's a small amount of material on the cube action. Most of it's on checker play. He does include a good guideline for where you can take, how many pips you have to be behind to take a double as the defender. A lot of it is the attacker's strategy and a lot of unorthodox plays that you don't normally see, like splitting, banana splits, hitting loose, all sorts of things that look crazy in a regular game, but they turn out to be the best. So there's also a Facebook group called All About Backgame. A lot of interesting material is in there too. I believe Mochy started that group a couple of years ago, but that group, in addition to the Backgammon Strategy Facebook group by Marc Olsen and the Backgammon Galaxy team, those are outstanding resources as well. And then the fourth section or chapter is called Cube Action in Undefined Positions, and that's by Marc. So what does it mean to be an undefined position? This is something I didn't know myself until I read it, but Marc kind of explains it. So the defined position is, for example, a position where one player has escaped both back checkers and has what's called full freedom, and the other opponent, has checkers back. So that's a defined state. The undefined is somewhere in between, where both players have one or more checkers back, and there are other things going on. One player may have made points, they may have had a prime, they may have a blitzing structure, all sorts of different things. Traditionally, cube action in these types of positions has used a model called PRAT, which stands for position, race, and threats. So you look at the position, you look at the race, how far you're ahead, and you look at threats, what you can do on your next roll. So this categorizes that in a little bit more detail with a different system called the Olsen system. And this is really good. I learned a lot from that. Tells you a little bit about, what to look for. Personally, I look through things in a little bit more detail, and you kind of learn to do that. You want to look at your market losers. What are your good rolls? What are your bad rolls? What are your okay rolls? And also, it's not just a market loser. A market loser is when a sequence of two rolls, one by yourself and one by your opponent, where it would be a take before that sequence, but becomes a pass after the sequence. Now, there are different levels of market losers. Sometimes you lose your market by just a little bit, and sometimes you lose your market by a lot. Those are other factors that need to be taken into consideration. He doesn't talk about that a whole lot, but those are kinds of things that I look at myself. So that's the fourth chapter. Those are the 4 chapters. This is where it's available. You can order it. Looks like not available quite yet in the United States, but hopefully soon. It's a beautiful book. It's actually nice hardback, the hardcover, and it has a little bookmark that you can use to mark where you were. Really nice. It's 6 by 9, I believe, in terms of inches. It's a really good book overall. I think There are a lot of books that have been written, and this is a really good book for people to look at if you're maybe not a beginner, but an intermediate player. You can learn a lot from all the different things. The Backgame one is probably for more advanced players. Backgames don't come up that frequently, but you can certainly learn a lot. So overall, this is an outstanding book. I like it a lot, and I'd recommend it to anyone. And thank you for joining me. Please like and subscribe and put your comments in there. Let me know what you'd like to hear. Let me know if you read the book and what you think, and we'll see you next time.